I'm Ralph Wolff. I'm retired from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, and I worked in construction and maintenance and operations, and retired as a district planning engineer. I'll be retired now, 20 years it'll be in September. Well, of course, the main building, not this building was more storage and a garage, but I graduated from Dayton High School in 1953 and was awarded a highway scholarship. So I first reported to work at the Coppin building where the district office was then. This was in 1953. I started work June 1953, and the state bought the bridge in August of 1953. So it wasn't too long before they moved the district office from the Coppin building down here to what was the bridge company's offices. Of course, it was a toll bridge from the time it was opened until 1963 when the Brent Spence Bridge was opened and the tolls were taken off at that time. Yeah, you're talking probably about the bridge company itself before the state owned it, the bridge. But yeah, the maintenance crews for the bridge would have had their repair equipment and parts, whatever they needed, paint supplies, probably stored here, and their trucks and their equipment. And later on, they actually had their own motorcycle police that patrolled the bridge. And I would assume they probably parked their motorcycles in here.
Itself a couple years ago.
That's right. Of course, the bridge company originally had their offices, if you look back in the old directories, at several locations on Greenup Street and Scott Street. And they even had an office on Main Street because at one time they owned the Main Street ferry operation. And then, of course, they built a building probably in the 1880s, the building that preceded the one that's the office building here now, occupied by Anchor Properties. So that building would have stayed to about 1922 when the present building was built. And actually when the second set of cables were added in the 1890s, the 1895 to 1899, they actually moved that old building, the previous office building, they moved it in order to build the second anchorage on this side of the bridge. And they had to move that two-story brick building. They moved it 10 feet upriver and 10 feet south to make room for the anchorage and to allow room for pedestrian passage between the building and the bridge walkway. Well, of course, the old vaults are there where they did store the money from the tolls, I'm sure, and some vaults downstairs. I don't know if those were later on when the highway department was there. They were used more for storing plans, highway plans. There is a sort of toll window there, cashier's window right at near the front door where people could buy. Apparently, I would speculate that that's probably where people came and bought advanced books of tickets rather than go to the toll booth itself to do that. Of course, like we said, the tolls were on from the time the bridge was opened. It was 3 cents for pedestrians, and I believe 10 cents for a horse and buggy, and 5 cents for each additional horse. And then there were actually tolls for crossing the bridge with pigs and cattle and other animals that were driven to market. As the years went on, the tolls, of course, were applied to automobiles, and changes were made to the bridge. The toll houses were rebuilt, and finally, when the bridge approach in Cincinnati was finally extended to 3rd Street, it was actually a toll plaza on that Cincinnati end that was 4 lanes wide. So you could, be in any of the lanes and pay your toll on that end of the bridge.
So it's safe to say this was big.
Well, of course, this was the first bridge across the Ohio River here, and actually the first bridge that totally spanned the Ohio River. The Wheeling Bridge was built prior to this bridge, but it went to Wheeling Island from Wheeling, West Virginia, or actually it was Virginia at the time it was built. And so this bridge was the most important one, eventually replaced the several ferry operations, and created a lot of influx of residential people moving to northern Kentucky that were working in Cincinnati, but moved to northern Kentucky. And of course, originally the transit system was horse cars that carried people back and forth as far as the transit system, and then eventually streetcars, and that's when in the 1890s that they had to strengthen the bridge, and it was actually widened also, and that was because of the heavier electric streetcars. Now we're talking about the vault in the building. I didn't work for the bridge company. I worked for the transportation cabinet after the state bought the bridge.
Right.
And the vault was used mainly as storage for supplies. That's where you went if you needed to get paper, pencils, protractors, calculators, anything like that. Supplies were kept in that vault. The money, what money that changed hands was there was somebody that sat near the front entrance that issued overweight truck permits, over-dimensional truck permits, and they did have to pay for those permits. And I don't know if that money was put in the safe that we're interested in right now or not, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
I remember it sitting in a corner, and to tell you the truth, I'm not exactly sure where I remember seeing it. I know when we moved to the new district office out on I-75, it was in our attorney's office out there, but I don't remember it really being used here, but it probably was.
So you remember?
I guess there was probably some of that, but I don't know that they had any jurisdiction except on the bridge itself, and I think it was mainly a security thing, or to respond quickly to any accident that would cause blockage.
So back